Well, hello everyone. It looks like it's that time. It's 1:15 Eastern time if you're here on the East Coast, and other times if you're in other time zones. But welcome. It's Donna Cutting. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the first of a webinar series, actually. We at Red Carpet Learning Systems are going to produce 3 webinars at least every 6 months. And so this will be the first of 3, and then we will repeat that webinar series at the last 6 months of the year. So you'll get more information about that, but we're really glad that you're here for the first one. And today is a really exciting day because we had close to 200 people register to either attend this webinar or win a trip to Asheville. And if you register for the webinar, you're entered in that contest. If you entered in the contest, you were registered for this webinar. So we're just really thrilled and very excited to finally be able to draw the name. And at the end of this webinar, we will be telling you who that lucky winner is. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by sharing my screen with you. There we go. And we'll get started right away with Red Carpet Diem, seize the opportunity for customer service. And specifically today, we're going to be talking about developing a service culture and what are 5 steps that you as a leader must take if you truly want to develop a service culture. My new book, 501 Ways to Roll Out the Red Carpet for Your Customers, speaks to the fact that I truly believe that every single person, regardless of their position in your company, has a very important impact on the customer experience. And so, one person can make a huge difference. However, if you want to deliver a consistent, extraordinary red carpet experience to your customers, then you indeed have to get red carpet ready as a leader, and you really are looking at more of building a service culture. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And before we go any further, I want to introduce myself to you for those of you who may not know me well. My name is Donna Cutting. I am a CSP, which stands for Certified Speaking Professional, which is a designation given to me or earned through the National Speakers Association. And I'm the author of a couple of books on red carpet customer service. One of those just came out. It's called 501 Ways to Roll Out the Red Carpet for Your Customers. And we're really excited this week because my colleague, Chef Hyken, who's another amazing customer service expert and a columnist for Forbes Online, just named it in Forbes as one of the 10 best business books of 2015. So that was kind of really exciting for us in our red carpet office. And speaking of the red carpet office, I also have with me today Brandy Hand. You may see her in the chat box function as Nicole Hand. Nicole is her middle name, but we like to call her Brandy, and she serves as what we call the Queen of Visibility, our marketing director at Red Carpet Learning Systems. So I'm really glad to have her on board. Brandy, you want to unmute yourself for a moment and just say hi to everyone?
Hi, everybody. So also floating to the left of Donna is my name as well. This is a webinar glitch that we weren't able to avoid, but her name is actually Donna Cutting, not Nicole Hand.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's
so
right.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn myself off so that you guys can enjoy Donna's wisdom some more.
Thank you, Brandy. Thank you. Great. So I always like to start with sharing the story about my meme. She is this woman sitting on Santa Claus's lap in the photo that you're seeing now, and hopefully everyone's seeing my screen at this point. Meme was my French grandmother. I also had an Irish one, but Meme was French. She lived in Fall River, Massachusetts, where she raised 14 children, 7 boys and 7 girls. And one of my dearest memories is when my Meme and Pepe went to Rome to see the Pope. It was a really, really big trip for them. And my mom and a bunch of us gathered at their house on California Street in Fall River to welcome them home. And my mom found a remnant of a red carpet and brought it downstairs and rolled it out on the sidewalk and reserved a special place for Meme and Pepe as my Uncle Arthur drove them onto the curb or next to the curb next to their house. And so as they stepped onto the sidewalk, they were welcomed home with a red carpet. And as a little girl who, if you know me at all, you know that I grew up wanting to be a movie star, wanting to be an actress, and watching that was just, it just always stayed with me. And we continued that tradition. So as a couple of my cousins who had moved away, I'd say to my mom or Meme, let's get the red carpet out. We'd roll it out for them. And I personally have never forgotten that. And so for me, when I think about the brand of red carpet, that's what it's about. It's about welcoming people home, welcoming people into your family. And so when I talk about red carpet service, it's about that. It's about saying welcome. It's about saying you're significant, you're important, and you're special. But truthfully, your customers could be anywhere on this spectrum here. You could have really, really angry customers. We know we don't want to keep people in that angry space. And that's because angry people talk. It's no longer that they tell two friends and they tell two friends and so on and so on and so on. What people do is actually go onto websites like this, caring.com, Yelp, Amazon.com, movie reviews, Fandango.com, all of these different places, even Facebook, YouTube, all of these different places where they can go and express their opinion. And when they're really angry, that's an opinion you don't really want out there. And so obviously we don't want to keep people in that space. Dissatisfied customers are almost more dangerous because those are people who are not necessarily going to tell you how they feel, but you may have lost their loyalty. They may be sitting there quietly dissatisfied. They're not telling the world, but the minute they have the opportunity to go somewhere else or to recommend you or not recommend you, it's iffy there because, they might easily jump ship. And so obviously you want to keep people satisfied, but in today's market, that's not really enough. And so we want to delight our customers. And the way to delight customers is to go that little extra mile, or as my friend Shep Hyken would say, that little extra inch. We had that conversation recently, just a tiny little bit so that you're going beyond satisfied and actually delighting them. And when that's consistent, when every team member delivers that level of experience to every customer at every opportunity, every single time, that's when you take delighted customers and turn them into advocates for your organization. That's what gives you the competitive advantage. That's where people are becoming what we might call raving fans. And so it's so important to deliver on that service experience and to really look at service in a way that maybe we didn't have to 20 years ago before all of this social media. I still think we should have, but now it's even more and more critical that we do. Bain & Company did a study that determined that a customer is 4 times more likely to defect to a competitor if the problem is service related rather than price or product related. And I just realized I want to turn this, there we go. That way you can probably see the screen better. Hold on one second. Great. And de facto research came up with a study that also shared, though, that 55% of customers would pay extra to guarantee better service. And so, and I've heard audience members say exactly that they are willing to pay even just a little bit more, or even a lot more sometimes, because they're just getting a better customer experience. I love this quote. I have shared it for years. I got an opportunity to interview Garrett Richter when he was the CEO of First National Bank of Florida, and I don't think I could put this any better than he does. He said he used to tell his team, if we roll out the red carpet for billionaires, they don't notice. If you roll it out for millionaires, they expect it. You roll it out for thousandaires, though, and they appreciate it. And hundredaires run out and tell everyone they know. And so that's what we want. We want to create raving fans, customers who are going on Amazon.com, Yelp.com, Travelocity, Caring.com, all of these different sites, Facebook, YouTube, and they're telling people how great your organization is. So as we get started, I want you to think about the service experience at 3 different levels. And Ed Edgen, who is from KSL Resorts, he contributed quite a bit to the new book, 501 Ways to Roll Out the Red Carpet for Your Customers. And he told me he really, when he thinks about it, he thinks there are 2 levels of service. I actually, in giving it more thought, think there's 3. And so I want to share the first 2 that Ed shared with me and then add the third one that I think is critical as well. And so that first level is the technical level. That is the product or service that you delivered the way people expect it when they pay for it. So in other words, when you sell a product, that you describe that product, that it arrives without glitches, that it works perfectly, and that people feel they got their value for their money. That's the technical side. If you deliver a service, you know, what your brochure says that you do, when they show up to receive that service, that you've got everything going on correctly from a technical, from an infrastructure standpoint, so that that is exactly the service that they are receiving. And when those go well, it's a good thing, and that's a critical part of the service experience. The problem is that you don't often get points, you know, you don't earn raving fans just from doing what you're supposed to be doing anyway. And so that's where that second level comes in, and that's the level of warmth and hospitality. So if the technical aspect is what you're doing, then the hospitality aspect is how you do it. You know, how are you delivering that service? Is it service, to be cliche, is it service with a smile? You know, is it service from the heart? Are people feeling good about doing business with you? Are you delivering a service where people like who they're doing business with? And that hospitality piece is where you actually win points. So, for instance, let's say there's a glitch on the technical end, something goes wrong. If you have it 98% of the time it's going right, but 2% of the time there's a mistake made, there's a glitch, something goes wrong. If you have a team of people who are constantly sharing warmth and hospitality and making people feel good and making them feel welcome and so glad to see you and so glad to do business with you, then that 2% is not going to tarnish your reputation. People are more likely to forgive those glitches because you are so warm and hospitable. However, if you have 2% going wrong, and then you have a team of people who they don't care, and they're not warm, and they're not smiling, and they don't call people by name, then you actually lose more points, you know. And so you want to have both of those aspects, and those are first the 2 critical aspects of service experience that you want to pay attention to. The third one, the one that I added, is the wow. And so that's the surprise and delight. That's where, if you read my book, I call it the movie moments, those unexpected moments of extreme, above and beyond, that people really aren't expecting from the experience, but it's the kind of thing that people talk about, that they get online, they say, oh, you will not believe what this person in this company did for me. Now, I put that last because, quite frankly, it doesn't matter how many wow moments there are. It doesn't matter how many red carpets you roll out, literally or figuratively, if you don't have the first two going on. So if you're not delivering what you promise and you're not doing it in a warm and hospitable way, then the wow really doesn't matter. But if you're rock solid on the first two, then you add that wow factor, and that's what turns customers into raving fans. That's what really gives you the competitive advantage. So in the book, you will know, like I said, it's 501 ways. So there's all kinds of little ways that people can deliver a great experience, and anyone at any level of the organization can look at those and put some of those into action. But there's an entire chapter that it was developed specifically for you, leaders of the organization, and it's called Are You Red Carpet Ready? Because the truth is, as I said in the very beginning, if you want to deliver a service experience that is consistent and that gets those raving reviews, then you really have to look at building a service culture. And there's lots that is involved in doing that, but we're going to just focus on 5 of those today. So the 5 steps that we're going to focus on today are, number 1, you must define the service experience. What does that look like? You as a leader have to understand whether it's in your department, in your building, your campus, or in your company. Wherever your leadership, whatever your leadership reign is, so to speak, then you want to make sure that you are really clear on what that service experience looks like, so that then you can communicate that to your team. Number 2 is you want to create and maintain a system to support that experience. Number 3, you want to recognize successes and also coach for improvement. Number 4, communicate, 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 and we'll talk about the 3 levels of communication that I like to share today a little later on. And then number 5, you want to strive for continuous improvement. By the way, I will be happy to send these slides along to everyone who's on this webinar, or even if you didn't make it, if you're listening to the recording, everyone who registered will get a copy of the recording and also a copy of these slides. So really looking at defining the experience. If you look at the photos on this slide, there are pictures that are taken from 3 organizations of different types that really have excelled in defining what their experience is. If you have read anything I've written, if you've heard me speak, then you've already heard me talk about High Point University in High Point, North Carolina. This is a university whose leaders know who they are, they know what they want to be. They've created an absolute extraordinary experience, and no pun intended, because that's their name, that's their brand, extraordinary. It's one of their values, but it truly is an extraordinary experience. If you walk through the campus, you might see the director of WOW hand-delivering birthday cards to students on their actual birthday, or chocolates on Valentine's Day. If you're an expected guest, you'll have your name on a welcome sign. And these are all just the little things that they do, but it's the way they tie it all together. That is a very congruent experience with who they decided they wanted to be. And there is absolutely nothing vague about it, right? Same with Mama D's. So Mama D's and also Talent Plus are both organizations featured in the new book, along with High Point University. And Mama D's, they're famous for their meatballs, but they're also, people come for the meatballs, but they come for the weight too. And that's because there usually is a weight at Mama D's. They're doing so well, and it's for the meatballs, but it's also for the experience. So they have at this restaurant in Newport Beach, created a wait experience that is unlike anyone else's. And they have hired many hosts or hostesses, and when people come to wait, they're either waiting inside in comfy couches or sometimes lined up outside because there's no room inside. But there are hosts and hostesses sharing food with them, absolutely complimentary, drinks, sometimes there's entertainment. And this is why I called them, by the way. This is why I spoke to the general manager there, was because of that experience. But when I talked to him, I realized again that he didn't just create a cool experience for the people waiting to get into his restaurant. He created a service culture. It was all about getting red carpet ready. It was about how he and he would want me to say, and the founder of his organization and his leadership team, how they really determined who they wanted to be, what they wanted their experience to look like, and not just for customers, but also for team members. And so you really, again, it's defining, what do you look like? What does that service experience look like in your organization? And then there's Talent Plus. So Talent Plus is a consulting organization. I think, yeah, I've got them on the next slide here. They help people in organizations determine how to hire people that have the talents that are best for that organization and the specific job that they applied for. And if you read about them, you'll see all the little things that they do. So for instance, if they have a guest, if one of their customers is coming to Lincoln, Nebraska, to one of their home offices, they will literally roll out a red carpet. You can see the picture here, and line up and applaud as that person comes in. When they hire a new employee, the senior leaders of the organization invite that person to a practice they call Focus on You, where they just for a couple of hours get to know each other, right? They celebrate with food all the time. One of the interesting things I thought I loved was, or that I did love, that they shared with me, was that they have 3-floor building but 1 coffee pot. And it's because they realized they wanted people to know each other. They wanted to be the Talent Plus family. And if they had coffee pots on every level, then some people would never get to meet each other. And so they have 1 coffee pot on 1 floor, so people really are mixing and mingling. They have a new hire celebration. So when you come into work, there's all kinds of things they do for new hires, but the last hour of your first day is a cocktail party that celebrates you being there. You can invite family and friends, and it's just, they do some really neat things. Every day they have what they call formation, and formation is a 10 to 15 minute stand-up meeting with everybody in the company, getting them all on the same page. And during that formation, they talk about their core value of the day. And they also do what they call plays of the day. And so that's anybody who can get up and share about what's going on, what they want to celebrate, or even share appreciation, words of appreciation to another coworker. So these are 3 organizations who've really, truly defined who they are and what their experience looks like. And they started really, well, I would say Mama D's and Talent Plus started that from the ground up. High Point University did that when Nito Cobain came in as president. But they had been around for quite some time, and they redefined what the experience at High Point University looks like. So the first step really is to think for yourself, what do we want our experience to look like? How do we want our employees to experience us? How do we want our customers to experience us? And you do that in a big picture way, but then you also have to get down to the nitty-gritty. So in order for your team members to really understand how to deliver on that customer experience, they've got to understand in specific, tangible ways how that vision, or how they apply that vision to their specific job. And that's one of the things that we teach our clients is, how do you take your core values, your vision, your mission statement, and bring it down to actionable, tangible behaviors that constitute the customer experience. So those are things like one of the things we teach. It's a great tool for people to grab onto when they're faced with a difficult, or not difficult, an upset customer. And so we talk about treating them to red carpet service. Really tune in and listen. Respond with empathy and regret. So one of the tools you might give them is a key phrase to use at that time. I understand how you must feel. I'm so sorry you're having that experience, right? It's actionable, it's tangible, and it's a tool that someone can use to deliver that better customer experience. Explore solutions and fix the issue. Add the and then some. Thank the customer. Again, these are all actionable, tangible behaviors that your team can now use to deliver on that vision that you have created of the customer experience. Here's another we have used with Penn National Gaming. We treat customers like stars, so we smile, we speak first, we call them by name. Just listen to how actionable that is. The more you can define what service looks like for your team members, the better able they are then to deliver on that experience. You know, I'm going to stop here for a moment because there's a memory that's coming up for me, and it happened recently. Actually, I was speaking at a location to a group of frontline team members, and we were talking about these kinds of behaviors, anticipating needs, remaining present to the customers, discovering and delighting. And after I was done with one of the sessions, one of the employees came up to me privately, and she had tears in her eyes, and she was saying, you know, I've been told I don't give good customer service and that I need to improve, but up until this point, no one ever really showed me what it looked like. She said, I didn't see these, you know, nobody was smiling, calling me by name, making eye contact. I didn't learn this at home. And so, you know, we were hugging by the time our conversation was over. And I really felt for her, but it reminded me that a lot of times what we think is common sense is really something that we have to paint a picture for our team members. We have to let them know, you know, what does it look like and how do you deliver on it? So I'm curious, I'm going to stop right here for a second and just ask, and this is something that you can you go ahead and put in the chat box, and Brandy will let me know what you're saying. And that is, I'd like to know what your definition is of great red carpet service. You know, when you think about receiving red carpet service, what are some of the actionable behaviors that people are practicing that enable you to feel like you're receiving red carpet service? I'm just going to give you a moment right now to do that. Anyone at all?
Well, hey Donna, it's Brandy. Can I chime in for a second?
Oh, please do.
I don't know. I'm sure you recall this because it was such an amazing thing that happened. But do you remember when we were at the Biltmore having a meeting and the server came over and we noticed that she had it was something like, I think she had gotten Employee of the Month and she had a little tag on. And of course, we had to ask her why, because this is what we do. And I just thought her story was so beautiful and perfect for this question.
Oh, yeah, of course I remember. I love that story. In fact, we at the last minute we were able to get this in the book, and I just love it. Yes. So Brandy and I were having lunch at the Inn at Biltmore, and this woman, and I won't give you her whole name because the Biltmore would prefer that I didn't. But I will tell you her name tag said Kim, so that was her first name, and Kim was a server at the Inn at Biltmore, and we noticed that she had Employee of the Month, as Brandy said, and so I asked her why, and at first she was very shy about telling us, but then I pressed a little, and what had happened was every day at 4 o'clock at the Biltmore they have tea, like the Vanderbilts would have had, And if you watch Downton Abbey, the family of the Downton Abbey probably has tea every day at 4 o'clock too. And so they serve this to their guests. And Kim had a regular guest that she would serve to that stopped coming. And she did a little digging, and what she discovered was that the woman had cancer. And indeed, it was not, unfortunately, curable, and that she was going to pass away. And so this server did everything she needed to do in order to get approval and set up the logistics so that she could bring that tea service to the bedside of this woman. And it took some time, but she was able to accomplish that. And so any of you who, like me, I'm sure many of us have faced a family member or someone that we love who has had cancer. You know that there are a lot of moments that are not ones that you want to remember. But then there are moments like this, because Kim was able to serve that tea just like she would have had at the Biltmore to this woman with her family and her friends right at her bedside. It was amazing. I mean, to me, that was above and beyond. That was a great example of really that wow moment, but really an employee who felt empowered to take action to deliver an experience to someone that was beyond what would be expected. And to me, that's a great example of a great service.
Hi, Donna. I just wanted to interject really quickly how perfect that story actually was, because Colleen shared with us that going above and beyond, and you actually said that. And then Chris said, someone offering to help without being asked, anticipating that I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going.
I love that. And yes, so absolutely you are both right. Definitely going above and beyond and anticipating customer needs. And that's a skill, by the way, that people, that really can be developed. So for instance, really being able to develop the skill of noticing what's going on with your customers and then taking action to help them in a certain way. So really, really great examples. Thank you both for sharing. Okay, so is there anyone else, Brandy?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Actually, now people are really writing in. So Chris says, I recently stayed at an Airbnb and the host had left a bottle of wine, cheese, crackers, yum, and fresh fruit, as well as coffee and breakfast items. It made us feel really special, and we definitely recommend and we will go back.
I love that. Thank you, Chris. That's a great story. And that's that little extra step that really makes a difference. It turns people into raving fans.
Oh, and Colleen makes a really good point here. And I promise I'm going to turn it right back over to you, but I think this is so important to say. She says that she thinks it also has to do with realizing that good ideas don't always come from the top.
Exactly. Oh, Colleen, you are right on point there. And it's one of the things that we want to make sure that we do as leaders is really listen, keep our eyes and ears open to the very people who are out there delivering one-on-one service to our customers, because oftentimes they are the ones that have the brilliant ideas. Just like that story from Kim. So thank you. Thank you for chiming in there. I think you're right on point. Great. Are we good? Should I move on?
Yes, you can go ahead now.
Right. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who shared. So the step one is really about getting clear about what your experience looks like. And I'm just going to take just a moment and do that. There we go. And step two is really making sure that you have the system to create that experience. And so I love to show the Ruby service pyramid. Call Ruby, or Ruby receptionist, actually. We jokingly or lovingly refer to them as Call Ruby. They are the reception company that I use. So if you were to call my 800 number, that's who you would be hearing answering the phone, is Ruby receptionist. And we keep them on board, by the way, because they do everything right. The technical piece is almost flawless. They are warm, hospitable, friendly, not only to myself and to my team, but also to my customers. And then they really do the wow piece. And they, in the worst year of the recession, their business actually doubled in size on customer referrals alone. So it's working. It's working. And I love Jill Nelson, their founder, came up with this Ruby service pyramid. And I want you to just look at the very bottom, because the very first thing that she understands they needed to do was to be prepared with the right infrastructure. In other words, if we're going to deliver the Ruby experience as we envision it, we've got to have the right systems in place so that we can do the next thing, which is do what we say we're going to do, right? That's that technical piece. And then foster happiness, that's that hospitality piece. Create experiences, give them what they don't even know they want. That's the wow piece, right? And so getting back to what this step is, it really is first about making sure that you have what you need, the system that you need in order to deliver that customer experience. So those kinds of things you need to really think about are like, how are you hiring? Have you really paid attention to the kinds of people and the talents and the skills that they have, and the attitude and the empathy that they have, in order to make sure that you're hiring people with those skills and attitudes and empathy and all of the things that they need to deliver that great customer experience. That is, by the way, the number one thing that all of these organizational leaders, from High Point University to KSL Resorts to Mama D's to Ruby Receptionist to Talent Plus, of course, that's what they teach, right? But the number one thing they all say is you've got to have people in place who can deliver on that experience. That's the number one thing. So have you created a system, and are you really working that system so that you make sure that you're hiring the superstars that you need? And you can train them, by the way, on skills, but they've got to have the attitude, the aptitude, and the empathy to be able to deliver on those skills. Number two is introducing new team members to your culture. When you hire those people, how are you going to onboard them so that it's not just a checklist orientation, but that you're actually introducing them to the service culture that you have created? And by the way, I have that in red to remind myself to let you know that that's going to be the second webinar that we do in this series, is all about creating an onboarding process for your team members and introducing them to your culture. So watch out for that. And then you want to train people and really look at, are we training people for compliance? So in other words, in some fields, in some industries, I know that there's so many training videos that they have to watch, and so many things that your employees have to be trained on. And it's great to put a video in, or I'm a proponent of online training for some things, but are we training people just so we can check off the box? Or are we actually taking the time and investing the resources so that we can train people so they can practice skills? And for customer service skills particularly, I am a big proponent of live interactive training, because I've seen it. People need an opportunity to practice those very, very basic hospitality skills so that they feel comfortable delivering on them. And then do you have the tools, the software, the people? Do you have the systems, again, set up so that you can deliver on that experience? That's the next step. The third step is to recognize successes and coach for improvement. So this here is a picture of my friend Leslie and myself. You might be able to see I've got the endorphin high going on there. It's my very first day at a CrossFit gym called Hard Exercise Works. And I don't know if any of you have ever tried CrossFit, but it's absolutely crazy that I do this, that I get up most days when I am here in Asheville that I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can take out the dogs, do my morning thing, and then head to the gym by 7 o'clock to do exercise to a level that I have never done before. And one day we were in the middle of these, what they called suicide runs. And the suicide runs are, you know, running to a mark, touching down, running back, running to a further mark, touching down, running back, running to a further mark, touching down, running back, and doing that about 5 times. And then when you finish the 5th time, that's number 1, and you're doing it 10 times. Well, let me tell you, I am the slowest and the weakest one at my 7 o'clock class. But it was in the middle of that that I realized why I've been getting up every morning to do this, because it's, trust me, it's really unlike me to do it. And it is the culture that they have created. So this is how our 7 o'clock morning starts. You know, after we warm up, we all gather, and the coach, whoever the head coach is for that day, gives us the WOD. The WOD is the workout of the day. So they go step by step and give us the information that we need in order to deliver on that workout today. We all know what's expected of us. The second thing they do is they demonstrate and give us a little training on how to do each movement, each exercise effectively. And so we're watching a coach and we're actually learning, we're getting the tools we need to deliver on that the exercise, right? The third thing is that the coaches are walking around praising, encouraging, way to go, good job, look at that, you can do it, throughout the entire hour. So you really feel supported, you feel good about what you're doing, you feel accomplished. At the same time, they're also walking around looking for things that people might need to adjust, and they're not waiting to tell us until after the class, right? They're telling us right there, in really letting us know that you know, what we need to do in order to make sure we're doing the exercise safely, to make sure we are getting the best results that we want. And then because they've created this culture, the peers are my co-workers, so to speak, at that 7 a.m. class. We do it too. You know, we are encouraging each other and high-fiving each other. Way to go, you got this, you can do it, and helping each other out. It's just this incredible culture, and it's why I love going there. I don't know if you can sense my excitement, but it's amazing to me that I love going to this gym. Well, it really applies to the workplace too, and one of the things that we teach at Red Carpet Learning Systems after we deliver a training is to say that the 2 most important things that you as leaders can do right now is to make sure you understand what we've taught your team members, and then go out on the floor and look for them delivering it, and praise them and encourage them and recognize success. And a formal recognition program is great, but informal, way to go, high five, good job, tying it into those service behaviors is even more important. Be specific about your recognition. What are you recognizing and appreciating about them? Be sincere. You know, if you want to lead people, you've got to love people. Be spontaneous. Again, the formal recognition programs are great. They have a place, they're important, but nothing takes the place of a boss recognizing right there and appreciating the contributions of their team member. And then do it soon. When you see it, say it. Now, the other side of that is that you also have to coach for improvement. And it's funny, when I talk about creating a culture of accountability, I see people get nervous. Oftentimes people raise their hand and say, but I think recognition is more important. And recognition and appreciation is important. It's probably one of the best things you can do to really solidify those service behaviors once people are trained on them. But also, if you see people struggling, if they're not quite living up to the expectations, that vision that you created, if you don't help them, if you don't help them adjust and coach and just fine-tune and get better, you're really depriving them of an opportunity to get better in their life and in their job and their professional development. And oftentimes people get nervous because they think I'm talking about something punitive, and I'm not. At this point, it's just about little tiny private conversations that just remind them what the expectations are. Ask them the question. You know, we like to use questions at Red Carpet Learning Systems. So, hey, what was that thing we learned in the training class, and how do you think that you could have done that better? And let them tell you. And great, good job. I know that next time you're going to. And then when you see them do it better, you praise them, right? But you've got to have both. You can't just turn your cheek when you see, avert your eyes when you see somebody doing the opposite of your vision. If you are committed to this vision of service, you've got to be in 100% in order for it to work. And by the way, and I meant to go back, let me just go back to that for just a second. Here we go. There is in the book, I actually included the 21 days of thank you. It's 21 consecutive days, things that you can do on 21 consecutive days to show appreciation for your staff. However, I would encourage you, if you'd like to have a PDF, you can share it with people, to go to redcarpetlearning.com and just download that 21 days of thank you right on our website. Feel free to share it with anybody you like. And no, we're actually going to change that pretty soon, so it's only going to be available for a short time. Absolutely free. All right, so at this point, I'm going to ask Brandy if anybody has any questions before we continue.
We don't have any current questions. I've answered everything in the list, but please, everyone, feel free, if you've had a question come up, ask it now. I feel like we need on hold or like waiting music, like doo doo doo.
That's right. Speaking of that, there was a software that somebody was using recently for a teleconference. I think it was Jeffrey Hazlett's team, and I was talking to them. And while I was waiting for Lindsay, his daughter, but she also works for him, to come on, there was a song that they were playing about how horrible it is to be waiting on hold for people. It was so funny. We've got to find that software.
Well, I think we must be good because we don't have any questions as of now. So I think you can carry on.
Okay. So then the next step is communicate, communicate, communicate. I have this in red again to remind myself, to let you know that that'll be the third webinar in this series, is all about workplace communication and how to really go in depth with communicating not just your customer service culture, but I think we can probably all agree that most workplace issues stem from communication issues, and so we're going to go really deep on that topic. But today I just want to share with you my perspective of the 3 types of communication in the workplace, and then also I will, for each type, I'm going to give you a very specific tactical behavior or practice, I should say, that we teach at Red Carpet Learning Systems, so that you could put those practices into use in your workplace right away. So the first level is inspirational. So you've created this great vision. You want to inspire people to take action on it. And the way you communicate, or the way to communicate in a way that is inspiring to people, is to hit them emotionally, right? And so one of the ways that you hit people emotionally is through storytelling. I can't say enough about the importance of storytelling in the workplace, and I've just seen it work wonders when people really run with it. So one of the practices that we teach at Red Carpet Learning Systems is the idea of collecting stories worth sharing, and sharing stories worth sharing. So in other words, you've created this extraordinary vision, right? You've gotten really specific about what customer experience looks like. You've trained your team, you're hiring those people, you're orienting them to your culture. Well, you want to make sure that as they go about delivering on that service vision, that you are noticing the stories that are coming out of that. Kim's story, Brandy, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's a perfect example. All of you on this call when you think back at your workplace, there are stories, there are people that you can think of that have delivered some, extra mile moment, or some movie moment, or some little way that they handled an upset customer, whatever it is. These are stories. These are examples, living, breathing examples of the kind of service experience that you are trying to create. And when you tell those stories, when you share them, when you share stories that make people laugh, that make people cry, it hits them emotionally, and when you hit people emotionally, it gets them to act, right? And so we challenge people to see, can you collect stories worth sharing? Once you've got your vision for service, you know what those service behaviors are, you're out there looking for them, start capturing them, and then start telling them. Tell them everywhere. Tell them at stand-up meetings. Tell them in your employee orientation program. Share them in your newsletter, right? Share them on your website. Tell them, because the more you tell those stories, the more your team members are going to want to create stories that you can then share with others. And so that's one tool we use for that inspirational level of communication. The second level is, or another level, is interpersonal. And that is how you are interacting with your team members, right? Oftentimes we think sometimes if we're having problems with communication, it's what we say. We get back to, sometimes it's not what we do, but it's how we do it. And so one of the practices that we teach is the idea of rounding, or we call it red carpet rounding. And in a hospital setting, rounding is checking in on your patients, right? Making sure that they're okay, making sure they're doing well, just seeing how they're doing that day. And in a workplace setting, it's walking around, dedicating 1 hour a week, 15 minutes a day, that you walk around intentionally for the purpose of checking in on team members, just seeing how they're doing. See if they have any questions. See if they have some suggestions that they might want to share with you. What can you do to intentionally let them know that you care about them more as human beings than just a worker bee, so to speak? And so consider that, even if today you left this webinar and you took 15 minutes and walked around, just check in with employees, do some red carpet rounding. Do that for a week and come back and let me know what kind of difference you think that might have made. And then the third level is informational, and that is about getting people the information they need to deliver on that vision for customer experience. And I always like to say, the more information you can give team members, obviously there are some things that you want to keep as a leadership team, but really look at the more transparent you can be as leaders, the more people are going to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, that they're part of the whole, that it's not just about their little job, but it's about the results that you are trying to get that they contribute to. And the more information they have, the better they can deliver an experience, a red carpet experience to your customers. So one of the practices that we teach, again, is what we call red carpet roundups, and those are stand-up meetings, right? 10 or 15 minutes. It doesn't have to take a long time. It's kind of like the formation that Talent Plus does every day. But those are the moments where every single day, pre-shift, right, if you have different shifts, but every single day you're standing up with your team, you're saying, here's what's going on, here are the guests we have coming in, here's what you need to know, here's the value of the day, and by the way, you don't necessarily have to be the one to talk about it. It could be a team member. They could take turns doing that. And hey, here's who we need to celebrate, and let's cheer each other on, and let's praise each other. Taking that time in the beginning, if you're not a leader who does this already, in the beginning it feels like you don't have time to do it, right? But I can tell you 100% of the time, any leader that we have taught to do this, who's really embraced it, even though they didn't want to in the beginning, they've always come back and said that's one of the best communication tools we've ever started to practice. I had one leader who said my team didn't want to do it, I didn't want to do it. Now my team is coming to me and saying, are we having our meeting? Are we having our meeting? because they feel empowered because they have more information. So think about that communication piece. Are you communicating in an inspirational way to inspire your team, in an interpersonal way so that they know you really care about them as people, as human beings, and in an informational way so that they have what they need in order to deliver an exceptional job for your customers. All right, so at this point, I'm going to take a little break and just do, this is where I do a little commercial. I just want to remind you again that I do have a new book out if you don't have it yet. It's called 501 Ways to Roll Out the Red Carpet for Your Customers. There's a lot of great, Colleen just, I think it was Colleen that said, you know, it takes people at all levels to deliver great experiences, and there are stories in here for people and examples and ideas for people at every level of your organization. And then we also share those stories of Mama D's and High Point University and Talent Plus and KSL Resorts, and that whole chapter of Get Red Carpet Ready, where we go a little deeper into some of the things that we're talking about today that we can't really go deep into in just an hour webinar. So that's available on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, anywhere books are sold. Walk into your Barnes & Noble or your local independent bookstore. If they don't have it, ask for it. They can order it easily. The other thing I want to just mention is that next week we are about to film our very first red carpet customer service training video. Now, I like to say it's not just a video, it's an entire kit, because as you already know, I don't 100% believe in just video or online training for customer service. So I'll tell you everything that it includes, but what we'll be teaching in that training video is to treat your customers like stars. So team members would learn things like how to provide a sincere welcome, the eye contact, smiles, call people by name, take note and adjust. And so it's that thing that we were talking about, anticipating needs, being able to read customers and then adjust your service accordingly, acting with urgency, responding and recovering. So when you're faced with an upset customer, what do you do? And then that wow factor, surprise and delight. And we not just talk about first impressions, but also leaving a lasting impression. This is going to be fun and effective. So this is the very training that I deliver and that my our Countess of Curriculum, Chris Perillo, who I think is on this call, that she delivers. And so it's going to be very, very effective. We've seen immediate change when we teach it, but this will enable you to teach it, and it's going to be fun as well. So it's every single service behavior is going to be delivered via a movie theme and a different movie genre. We're using a Wizard of Oz parody and film noir and Mission Impossible / Bond, 80s horror film, movie musical, you name it, there's a movie cliche in there. And we film it next week. It actually comes out at the end of March. We'll be shipping in the beginning of April. And here's what's included. It's the video, a facilitator's guide, okay? So that's the step-by-step guide for anyone who's actually delivering the training, so you can deliver interactive exercises that go with the video. A PDF of the participant workbook, which you can make copies of from infinity to beyond. A trainer's bag with sample props. We'll give you a poster to promote the training, and you will have a license to use this training for as long as you want in that one location. This is going to be priced at, I didn't do my math, but it's something like $9.49 or something along those lines. But what I can tell you is right now, if you order before February 12th, which is the last day of our filming, you will save $599. So you can do that right on my website or just give us an email and let us know. But for a limited time until February 12th, that kit and the license is $350 if you pre-order it before it's actually done. Okay, the last step is continuous improvement, and I will just end by saying that that is the second thing that everybody said, that it's not just about who you hire, but it's about never giving yourself an A. You know, if you think, oh, we already do these things, well, that's great. I mean, that's awesome, but you want to make sure that you are constantly looking at what else can we do? How can we get better? That's what Red Carpet Rock Stars do. All right. So we only have a couple of more minutes, but I do want to just check in and see if there are any questions, just really quickly, before we do the really exciting thing to come. Brandy, anybody?
No, no questions thus far. No questions in the chat box or in the question area, so I think we're good.
Good, excellent. Okay, well, that means it is time for what many of you I know are all waiting for, and that is that we're going to draw the name of the person who wins the red carpet trip to Asheville, North Carolina. This is a picture of the Biltmore Estate. The winner of this trip will be flown with a friend to Asheville, put up in the A-Loft Hotel, which you can read about in the book. You will have spa treatments, and depending on when you decide to come, theater tickets and trip to the Biltmore, and we're just going to really roll out the red carpet for you. So I've got in my red box the name of everybody who entered, and I'm going to really quickly, if I can do this, just shake it up. And I'm going to draw that name now. And it is Debbie Mesenberg. I don't know, is Debbie on the, and I did forget to say you don't have to be present to win, but I'm hoping Debbie is present. Are we hearing from Debbie, Brandy?
Debbie is not present. Well,
oh. I was hoping it would be somebody who was present. Well,
I'm scanning the attendees right now, and I don't see her name.
well, we will let Debbie know, and I'm so glad that all of you did participate as well, though, and I'm sure we'll do something similar in the future. And on Facebook, we're always giving away movie passes and books and that kind of thing, so be sure to join us on Facebook. Just follow Red Carpet Learning Systems. Follow me on Twitter at Donna Cutting, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for being here, Brandy. Thank you for your help, and I look forward to hearing how you are living and working the red carpet way.